Hello and welcome to another episode of Relationship Alive. I'm your host, Neil Satin, and today I'm going to share with you a path to eliminating the powerful hold that negative thoughts and beliefs can have over you by using that power for your own good. And your negative thoughts will be pleased to know that they will be truly making your life better for once. So don't worry, everyone is welcome here. In fact, we need those negative thoughts for what we're about to do. Now, if you're one of those miraculous people who doesn't have a single negative thought holding you back, then you should keep listening anyway, because I'm going to share with you a strategy that will be helpful for other people you know who undoubtedly do experience negative thoughts. I'm talking about the kind of thoughts that you may have heard and internalized when you were younger, from, say, a well-meaning parent who is trying in their own way to encourage you, or maybe they were trying to discourage you from a certain path. But unfortunately, the way that our little young brains work, we internalize those negative messages and give them more meaning and weight than they deserve. I'll even give those adults the benefit of the doubt and say that how those negative thoughts got internalized were probably not what the adult intended. They were probably, not always, but in most cases, they were probably doing their best to protect you with whatever they were capable of in that moment. Now, this is a moment where you get to show up, help your young self understand that experience that you went through, make a boundary with whoever outside of you was responsible for that negative belief, and reclaim your responsibility for yourself. And even better, you get to meet those negative beliefs with appreciation and compassion, and to integrate them into your life now in a way that will be more purposeful. So I'm going to give you some very personal examples of this because this technique is something that I stumbled upon in my own life, a combination of several other strategies that emerged spontaneously that I found to be super effective, and that's worked for clients as well. So how do those negative thoughts get lodged in there to begin with? As we've talked about on the show, our brains are attuned to negative things in order to protect us from harm or danger. And our young brains, when we're children, are very impressionable. Those messages we get from the world find a nearly blank slate, and so they get to burrow deep down into our subconscious mind. Now, there's a good reason that your brain is tuned to the negative. It keeps you safe. And that, under many circumstances, can be important. So we're not going to try to do something unrealistic like eliminating the negative bias of your brain. Like, that's just not going to happen. And it would be dangerous for you. So we're not going to do that. However, you can certainly tune your brain to being more and more positive and focused on possibility and less inhibited about risk. There's a value to that as well. You can learn how to make your nervous system more adaptable so that when you get triggered, it's easier to tune into what's going on and to bounce back. So if you want to learn more about how to do that in ways that are custom designed for your nervous system and emotions, just check out my course on building your resilience at www.neilsatin.com/foundation. However, that's not what we're here to do today. Instead, what we're going to do is get back to the business of harnessing the power of your negative thinking for a positive outcome. Now, one of the reasons that this works so well is that your negative thinking is very powerful. And so when you harness that power for your benefit, then it creates a lot of energy that propels you toward the goals that are most important to you. Of course, the things that are most important to you, that really matter, are also probably the things that create the most fear in you, which is why those negative feelings get stirred up to begin with. They're trying in their own misguided way to protect you. And it can be difficult for you to proceed if you can't effectively deal with those negative thoughts that are holding you back. So as I mentioned, these thoughts live in our subconscious mind, and then they emerge from there without our bidding, automatically. Now, perhaps you've experienced this, where you want to do something that's really important to you, and you hear a negative thought just emerge from your mind. Something like, don't do that. What if you fail? What if you make a mistake? What if people laugh at you? What if you're not good enough? Etc. You get the idea. Or perhaps it's something like, don't even try. You're a failure. Or you can't do that. You're too lazy and you don't know how to stick with things. The point is, you hear those thoughts, and if nothing else, they slow you down. And even if you can get past them, it takes effort, and you waste a whole lot of energy to do that. So won't it be so much better when your negative thoughts are actually helping you make progress? Right, that's what we're doing today. So there are obstacles that come from seemingly nowhere, but as you can see, they're coming from your subconscious mind and from our past, which is one reason why they can be so pernicious and so difficult to change. Here's why it's really hard to access and change your subconscious mind. You have filters in place that recognize information that's incompatible with your perception of reality. And they just filter those incongruous thoughts out. That's why all of the positive affirmations in the world might not really make a dent in your negative thought patterns, because you have this filtration mechanism that says, oh, that thought, I'm successful, for example, that's an interesting thought. However, it doesn't really align with what I really think about myself. And so I'm just going to discard that. Bye-bye. And you can spend day after day after day, hour after hour, giving yourself positive affirmations without them having much effect, because you just keep filtering them out. It's like when you take too many vitamins that you don't need and your body just kind of pisses them away because you don't need that vitamin C right now, and you don't need that vitamin B, and you don't need that thought either. And gosh darn it, I'm smart enough. So that's what happens with those positive thoughts if they don't truly align with your subconscious worldview. Now, there are several techniques that people sometimes use to successfully deal with negative thoughts, the ones that are embedded in your subconscious mind. And one of those that you've probably heard of that can be quite effective is hypnosis. And the strategy that we're going to use today borrows a little bit from hypnosis, because one of the most effective tactics for getting past that filter and into your subconscious mind is confusion, or a paradox. So when you are confused and you can't make sense of something, that creates a huge opening for you to learn something new, and for that new thing to get right past your filter into your subconscious mind, where it can take root and grow and displace or even transform some of those negative thoughts. The confusion distracts your filter just a bit, just enough to let your guard down and to let the new thoughts get in to work their magic. And what you'll soon see is that it's surprisingly easy to confuse yourself, and then to use that to your advantage. So I'm going to start by walking you through the experience that I had as an example, identifying the steps of the process as we go. And then I'll spell it out for you so you can work with your own negative thoughts and beliefs. Now, part of the sabbatical that I took, which I've talked about in my return episode, so you can listen to it there, part of what it was about was diving deep and confronting some demons, confronting some of my own questions about why I was doing what I was doing with my life, and looking into what was actually important to me. But even after that inner journey and coming out of it renewed with conviction and ready to resume, I was still stuck. I was having lots of false starts. So I was diving into things and feeling overwhelmed with just how many things I wanted to do or needed to do, and I couldn't move forward. Instead, I was finding myself procrastinating a lot. And each day that I would procrastinate, I'd feel like a failure. And on top of that, I would hear the voice of my parents in my head saying things like, "You're interested in too many things. If you can't choose one thing, then you'll never be successful." Or when I would inevitably be interested in a thing, but then I would change my mind and I'd be interested in something new, I'd get the message, "You can't keep quitting. If you quit, you'll never be successful. You're just being a quitter." And on top of that, when it came to procrastinating, I would hear things like, "You're just being lazy. If you keep procrastinating, you'll never be successful." So hopefully you get the point. These are messages that I heard when I was younger. Thinking back on it, I'm not positive that that's even exactly what I heard from my parents, but it's how I internalized whatever it was that they were saying to me with my young, unsophisticated brain. Now, if I give them the benefit of the doubt, in whatever misguided way, they were probably trying to say things like, hey, if you want to succeed in life, you're going to have to stick with something. Which, while not exactly helpful to someone who's new to life and experimenting and curious about everything, it's at least somewhat true. Now, looking back on it, what I wish they had said to me was something like, hey, you're clearly interested in lots of things. Can I help you get organized about what you're exploring? Are there ways that they all fit together? Are there ways that I can help you and help you give time and energy to all the things you used to be interested in, so you can keep developing those things while still making room for the new things that excite you? How can I help you? Because you seem to be having trouble getting started on this big project that you say you want to do, or you have these big ideas. Can I help you break those down? How can I help you get started? Those are the kinds of things that I wish my parents had said to me as a way of actually helping me out. But instead, I got the messages that I did, which were often framed as a negative. Don't do what you're doing. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be a failure. So here, just to give you a step back a minute, I've identified the negative thoughts and more or less where they came from. And what I wish those lovely adults had said to me instead. These are important steps for you along the way, and we're going to come back to them in a few minutes. Now, in those moments not that long ago when I was really stuck, when I looked at the reality of what I was experiencing, what I saw was that I am procrastinating and I am failing. And on some level, it even appears that I'm being lazy. And honestly, I was in danger of quitting altogether, because when I was there, in the face of my despair and stuckness, it wasn't that I didn't want to do it, but it was really because I was afraid that I would do it and I'd fail. And if I look back on lots of the decisions that I've made over the years to stop pursuing something important to me, the reality is that not in all, but in a lot of those circumstances, I was afraid. I was afraid of looking like a fool. I was afraid of not being good enough. I was afraid that if I invested all of myself in a goal, like for instance, having a successful podcast, that I would feel like a failure and that I would actually fail and I'd be embarrassed. So when I looked at my stuck life, it had all of those elements. I was in danger of quitting, I felt like a failure, and I was really stuck with procrastination that to the people around me might have even looked like I was aimless or lazy, or like I couldn't stay focused and commit to something. So, just being honest, that was the evidence before me. Now, one of the challenges of these negative beliefs, but one of the most important things to recognize about them, is that while they may not be 100% true, there is, almost always, a seed of truth to them. And on some level, those negative beliefs can become self-fulfilling in your life today. Now, we're not going to hang out in this place because that would be pretty disempowering, but it's important to recognize what's actually happening in your life right now, and the seeds of truth, whatever they may be, behind the negative thoughts. Again, I'm not saying that they are 100% true. All I'm saying is that those negative beliefs wouldn't have come to exist if they weren't based on something, even if it was a misinterpretation of that something. So when I was a kid, I did procrastinate. The reality is that I probably had a lot of fear of failing, which was ironic because I did well at a lot of things. And yet, maybe because I did so well, it got more and more scary that I might not do well and that I might fail. So there was that. I didn't have a lot of practice failing at the time, at least not that I remember. I also had some trouble being organized. And as an adult, it's become pretty clear that there are probably some ways that I'm a bit neurodivergent and could have used extra support when I was a kid to help me deal with that a little bit more directly. There are other things that are super easy for me, ways in which life is easy, but there are these ways that life is challenging for me. So the grain of truth was I was procrastinating. It didn't mean that I was truly lazy. It didn't mean that I was aimless. It didn't mean that I didn't have a sense of purpose. Like all those things that I internalized, those aren't true. They're a huge negative exaggeration of what was happening. But objectively speaking, I was procrastinating. I was interested in a lot of things and I changed my mind a lot. There's another one. Instead of quitting, like a positive way to characterize that for my parents might have been, oh, wow, you're interested in a lot of things and you feel free to change your mind. Now that can actually be a blessing under the right circumstances. Sometimes you need to know when to change, when something you've been pursuing isn't worth pursuing anymore. So how would you know? How would you figure that out? That would have been a helpful dialogue with my parents. And we're going to get more to that positive stuff in a minute. And the paradox that turns the negative into the positive. But on the surface, I can look at what was happening and say, with honesty, yeah, I did quit a lot of things. There are things I started and then I quit. And then objectively, you could look at the big goals that because I was procrastinating and quitting didn't happen. And I could say, well, I failed. I can think of any number of things that I thought at one point I would do and that I haven't done. That's obviously only one small way of measuring success, and it's probably not an accurate way to measure success. But if we measure it that way, then I failed. So I'm telling you this because that level of honesty and candor about yourself is part of what is going to empower you. So we get clear about the negative beliefs. We get clear about what might have been a better way to help us back when someone offered that negativity to us. And now we look in the mirror to see what the seed of truth is about those things. And if you really can't figure out if there's anything true, then one strategy could be to turn to someone who cares about you and can be honest with you in a kind way. And just say something like, hey, I have this negative belief about myself. Can you help me figure out what's true about it? I don't want to make it worse than it is, but I do want to see what's real so that I can do something about it. This whole process, by the way, is something that we can do in a session as well. So you can check out neilsattin.com/coaching if you're interested in setting something up. Because look, let's be honest. The deal is we're not perfect and we have plenty of mirrors in our life. People who reflect back at us who we are. And those people might not be so generous with how they reflect back at us. So it's worth being boundaried about how you receive those reflections. But let's see if we can get clear about what it is so that we can figure out our way past it and stop being victims to it. Okay, so this is a step that's about letting you own what's true in order to empower you to take the next step, which is to reclaim your power in this situation. Now, for me, I tend to process things out loud. It works really well for me. I'll go on a walk and talk where I walk in the woods and I talk to myself and I take on different perspectives and have conversations with myself. It's a super effective way that I've found to help me understand the different parts of myself, to communicate with past versions of me and future versions of me. And you'll learn more about that over time, but I'm sharing that with you here now so that you know how I went through this process. But you will need to figure out what works best for you. Is it processing out loud like I do? Is it something visual, something written, making art, dancing? Feel free to experiment to see what feels right, but you're welcome to also just try it the way that I did it to see how that works for you. Or maybe in the process, you'll get inspired to do it slightly differently. The key is that you need to actually experience this process, not just think about it. Now, this next step is where everything we've laid out comes together and where you get to walk right up to the edge of paradox, confuse your filters, and harness the power of your negative thoughts. So are you ready? Okay, here's how you do it. First thing is to show up as the loving, caring person that you currently are for your younger self. The version of you who received those negative ideas. Your job is to explain to that younger you what was going on, to help the young version of you make sense of your earlier experience, and to let you, the young version of you, off the hook. So an abbreviated version of that for me would be something like, hey there, little Neilio. First, I want to just let you know that this isn't what you need to hear right now. These two grown-ups, they're doing their best to help you, but unfortunately, they don't really know what you need right now. You're curious about a lot of things, and that's amazing. It's a gift to experience the world that way. I want to help you explore the world and also figure out how to follow your dreams. It's okay to not know right now. You're young. It's okay to change your mind. And it's okay that your dreams feel really, really big and to need some help figuring out how to try and make them happen. I know that what you really needed back then was some love and support. Not to hear that there was something wrong with you and that you were going to fail if you kept being you. That's not helpful. So how about you come hang out with me in my adult world so I can show you how cool our life has become. You don't need to listen to this negative stuff anymore. How would that be? Like that. And then I pay attention. For me, that younger version of me lives in my mind's eye, but for you, it might be different depending on how you experience your imagination and your inner world. You might hear it, you might feel it, but I can see my younger version of me. And my younger self is eager to not be stuck in that depressing scene in the past. He wants to be here with me now so that he can get the support that he needs. Now, it may not always be as easy as that. It may require more dialogue, more building trust with the younger version of you. But the goal is ultimately to speak to that part, to give that part of you what you needed back then, and then to safely remove them from the situation where they were getting that negative feedback. I keep my little guy close and in the present moment so he doesn't have to feel stranded back there in the confusing past. So now, let's conjure up the people who implanted these lovely ideas in your subconscious mind. Because in my experience, it's most powerful if I talk to them directly. So for me, I would talk to my parents and I would say, hey parents, this is for you. I want you to know that these are the messages that I internalized from our time together. And I'm bringing them up because these messages have been harmful to me. Now, I'm hoping that you had the best intentions, that your intention wasn't to harm me, that it was to help me in some way. And so I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm here to tell you that it is time for things to change. Now, if you have it in yourself to forgive them for fucking up your life, to acknowledge that they did their best, and that their best maybe even served you in some ways and didn't serve you in other ways, that can be super powerful. Let them off the hook because you are going to take charge of your life now, and you're going to stop letting them have power over you. Those negative thoughts, they've served a purpose, but now it's time to ensure that their power is being used for good. So it's time that you know, dear parents, that I'm taking the reins back, and I want to speak to these ways that the things that you said to me have held me back. And in this moment of stuckness, at this point in my life, those things actually seem to be coming true. On some level, what you said has become my reality. I've become very good at quitting. I've become very good at procrastinating. And I've become very good at fully not achieving my goals, which you might say is failing. And so I guess job well done. And your job is done here because it's time for me to harness those abilities for a better purpose. So now it's time for the confusion. So let's talk about procrastinating and being lazy. I am really good at putting important things off and finding other things to do. Now, in those moments, I'm actually taking action. I'm just not taking action on the things that I want to be taking action on. That's procrastination in a nutshell, and I've gotten really good at it. I've gotten so good at procrastinating that now I'm going to procrastinate procrastinating. That's right. The action that I'm going to take when I procrastinate is going to have the effect of procrastinating procrastination by actually doing the things that I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to be lazy about being lazy. So as you can see, here's where the paradox and confusion happens, because these negative thoughts, when taken to their extreme, contain their opposite. And this is very perplexing to your subconscious mind. In fact, maybe just listening to me right now, you're getting a little confused and you're thinking, how is that even possible? Is that really true that the negative contains the positive? So let's do another. Let's talk about quitting. I've gotten so good at quitting that I can quit anything at any time. So now I'm going to quit quitting. If I quit quitting, that means that I'm going to be committed. So I quit quitting with my amazing ability to quit, and I'm committed. I'm procrastinating on procrastination by taking action. And because I've gotten so good at procrastinating and quitting, the reality is that over time, I've watched so many dreams pass me by. I've gotten really good at not realizing my dreams, at failing. Are you following me? So I've failed so many times that I've actually gotten really, really good at failing. In fact, you might say that I've become quite successful at failing. I have successfully failed over and over and over again. And because I have successfully failed, and I'm so good at failing, now I'm going to fail to fail. So at this point, I have no choice but to quit quitting and be committed, to procrastinate procrastination and take action, and to fail and succeed. Are you following me? I want to tell you that just going through this right now with you renews the power that this whole process has for me. I can feel it. I can feel how powerful it is to take ownership of those negative things. And rather than resisting them, rather than trying to push them away, embracing them and being like, you know what? Not only am I that thing, but I am so that thing that I'm going all the way to the opposite of that thing. It works for other negative beliefs as well. Imposter syndrome. I'll be an imposter at being an imposter, so much so that I'm the real thing. Or if you feel like you're not good enough, this one is actually really beautiful because in order to be really good at being not good enough, you have to be really good. And if you're not good enough at being not good enough, you're also good. So that one contains its opposite no matter how you look at it. But I don't want to give you the answers here. And in fact, you might come up with your own answers, your own paradoxes, even for the negative beliefs that I've already named here. It's important to sit with what yours are in order to ensure that you find the messages that work for you. And then you get to welcome those negative beliefs back into the fold because they were just trying to do their job to keep you safe. And now that you've mastered your ability to comply with the negative beliefs, you can use them to bring about their opposite. So, to simplify, the basic process goes like this. First, Identify the beliefs that are getting in your way. Where did they come from? What was the positive intention behind them, no matter how convoluted? What did you need to hear or to receive instead of those messages? And what are the seeds of truth that led to your encountering those negative beliefs in the first place? So think about those things, give yourself space to process. Then communicate with the younger version of you. Explain what was happening at that time. Help them make sense of their experience. Tell them what you needed to hear at that time. And then, if they're ready to not be stuck in that place, you can bring them into the present so that they can be safe by your side. There's more you can do there with your young self, more healing work, but these are the basics for what we're talking about now. So next, you address the people who gave you those negative beliefs. The parents, teacher, coach, whoever it was. You want to do it in a way that's safe for you. So most likely not addressing them directly, like in real life. You can address them with your voice when you're alone or on a walk, or you can journal to them, or in a safe container with a coach or a therapist. Those are the best ways probably to go through it. Use whatever process works best for you. And tell them that you recognize that they were doing their best. Explain to them how those beliefs and negative influences actually impacted you. Tell them what you wish they had said instead. And tell them that it's time for you to take charge of these aspects of your life and to repurpose those abilities that they inadvertently gave you for good, to actually fuel your goals and dreams instead of discouraging them. And then go through the process around the beliefs themselves. Explore the seeds of truth about them. How have those beliefs become manifest in your life? And if taken to their extreme, how do they reveal their opposite? Can you find that path towards their positive expression? Then you can embrace them as they more or less neutralize themselves, and instead you use those abilities to fuel you towards your success and your freedom. So it's important to give yourself the time to process in some way. As I said before, don't just think it through because it's not an intellectual exercise. See if you can feel the zing of it in your body, in your being. I mean, thinking about it is good, but what you really want is that experience in your body of what it's like to go through the process for yourself, not just to hear what I went through. And rather than trying to figure it out ahead of time, you might just let that process simply unfold organically as you go, so that you arrive at the destination where your version of the paradox reveals itself, where the negative thought unveils its opposite. And in that moment of surprise and confusion and paradox, you can own the power of your negative thinking for your benefit. And then in your own way, in the manner that is true for you, you can, like I did, quit quitting and be committed. You can procrastinate on your procrastination and take action. And you can fail to fail by succeeding, whatever it is for you. As for me, here we are. The podcast is out. I've done 2 courses, my emotional resilience and nervous system regulation course, which I mentioned earlier, and the recent Regulate to Communicate workshop that I co-taught with Peter Levine, and the lovely beginnings of the Relationship Alive and Thrive community, where I offer weekly group coaching. I think you could say that I'm officially unstuck. And by the way, you can find out more about all of those things on my website, neilsattin.com. So take a little time with this. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment. Let me know what negative belief you tackled and how it went for you and how you felt at the end of the process. Or if you're listening, you can always let me know all of that if you send me an email at Neilius, Neilius, at neilsattin.com. Because I want to hear from you. I want to know what the negative beliefs are, and I want to know where you arrive once you own them. And if you're still stuck, let's have a session. We'll do a coaching session around this for you so those negative beliefs don't have to have power over you any longer. Because you can claim that power. It's rightfully yours for you. And if those thoughts live inside you and you're suddenly harnessing them for good, let me tell you, it frees up lots and lots of energy. And on the other side of that, fueled by that energy, are your hopes, your dreams, your goals, your vision for your life, your relationship. And that's what I want for you, no matter what. Okay? All right. So I'm sending you love and courage and capacity, and I look forward to hearing how it goes. Please let me know, and take care.